Hello. You probably saw the title. You know what's going on. I'm going to be talking about the movies that are going to be released in August. Talk about how excited I am for them. Talk about like the vibes around these. If the word of mouth seems like it's going to be good, if the trailers were good, who's involved in them, all of that, and then giving them an excitement rating out of 10. And I'm going to be going in chronological order by weekend. Quick note. The first weekend of August was August 1st, and this is coming out, pretty sure, like August 5th or 6th. But really the only release I was really interested in the first weekend of August was The Naked Gun, which came out August 1st, and I'm going to be doing a review on. So tune in for that, and I'm not going to be giving an excitement rating for that movie because I've already seen it, so that would be kind of strange. And I'll just skip into the second weekend of the month, which is August 8th. The first movie I want to talk about is Weapons. This is the latest from Zack Cregger, the director of Barbarian, which I think is genuinely one of the best horror movies of the decade. I came in not expecting much and was absolutely blown away. This film is going to be a little bit different because there is some sense of expectation that this film is going to be good after the great debut that was Barbarian. And the trailers have been great. The marketing has been sort of similar to Barbarian, hiding a lot. There's something going on here, and I'm not entirely sure what this film is necessarily about. There's this whole website that has a lot about hot dogs for some reason. I've intentionally avoided watching too much of the trailers. I have seen the first teaser and then a little bit of the first trailer. And this looks like it's going to be really, really scary, really gory, and just genuinely terrifying. The concept sounds really interesting. Essentially, a bunch of kids in a small town who all coincidentally happen to be in the same classroom at school. They all leave their houses at a specific time at night, and they just leave and they never come back. And so basically the whole town's freaking out. All the parents are freaking out. And the film has been described as Magnolia for horror movies, which seems like a bit of a tall order because Magnolia is just this big sweeping epic. And I think it's just sort of shorthand for saying that this film is going to be focused on multiple characters and have a lot of different subplots within it. So I'm not going to go into this thing expecting Magnolia. I'm just going to be expecting another really good horror movie that takes a lot of really great twists and turns. The cast here is great as well. Josh Brolin in the lead is really exciting. There's nothing about this film that kind of turns me off to it. I think it's going to be one of the best movies of maybe the entire year. It's arguably my most anticipated movie of the rest of the year, and I'm going to be giving this a 10 out of 10 excitement rating. I cannot wait for this movie. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the other August 8th release is Freakier Friday, which is obviously the sequel to Freaky Friday, which came out sometime in the 2000s, and I watched a lot when I was a kid. I still think it's pretty good, just like a really funny Jamie Lee Curtis performance in this movie. But this sequel looks really quite awful. I hate to say it, but I don't understand the premise here. It seems as though they're just like adding more people into the whole body swap thing. Obviously, Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis are returning to this movie, which looks like a Target commercial, judging from the trailers. It looks shot in like the blandest, flattest way possible. Almost like it wasn't shot for the theaters. It seems like it was filmed to be like a Disney Plus original, and at some point they were just like, well, I guess we might as well put this in theaters because there's, an audience of millennials that are very excited and have a lot of nostalgia for the original. But it just looks really gross. The premise seems kind of basic, and it just doesn't seem like there's going to be anything here that wasn't done better in the original. I'm really not excited for this movie, even as a fan of the original. I would give this like a 2 out of 10. So those are really the only two big releases on August 8th. That leads us directly into the big release of August 15th, which is Nobody 2, the follow-up to Nobody, which came out quite a while ago, and I don't think anyone was really clamoring for a sequel to this film, but I'm kind of glad we're getting it. I think Bob Odenkirk is a really interesting, subversive idea of an action star, and him doing what's essentially like a John Wick movie is pretty entertaining. And the first one really worked not only because of him, but because of Christopher Lloyd and RZA in these strange supporting roles. I don't necessarily think the first one is anything special, but it is fun, and that's what the trailers seem to be advertising this one as, just kind of a fun action movie. Sort of in the same vein as Ballerina, the other John Wick-ian movie that came out this year that I thought was pretty solid, but also was like a little bit too serious, was taking itself a little bit too seriously, and Nobody does not look like it's doing that. It looks like it's going to be really goofy. Bob Odenkirk is great at that goofy style, and honestly a surprisingly solid action star. Like he is really game for all of these stunts and all of this stylized choreography, but that also undeniably works. I don't know. I don't necessarily think this is going to be an incredible movie, but I am pretty interested in it, so I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. We have 3 pretty big movies coming out on August 22nd. The first one being Highest to Lowest, the latest from Spike Lee, who hasn't made a movie in like 4 years, I don't think. This is him teaming up with Denzel Washington for the 5th and potentially final time. I hope not, but both of these people seem like they're kind of on the last leg of their career. And it's a remake of Akira Kurosawa's High and Low, which is from the 60s and is honestly like one of the best movies ever. People are pretty turned off to the idea of remakes at this point in Hollywood because a lot of them are soulless and cash grabs and just kind of trying to ride a nostalgia wave. But that's not really what this one is. At least I don't think that's what this one's going to be, because you have 60 years separating these films. You have an entire cultural divide. You just have like a different time, a different culture that this film is coming out in. And Spike Lee is a very different filmmaker from Kurosawa, both in his style and in the way he likes to tell stories. They're also changing it up a little bit, it seems, not only because it is set in America, but because Denzel's supposed to be like a record producer, a music producer, rather than, I think Mifune was like a shoe salesman in the original. And yeah, it's clear that this is taking the core concept, the core premise of High and Low, and kind of reworking it, but it's almost unrecognizable when you watch the trailer. It also stars Jeffrey Wright, who I absolutely love. A$AP Rocky is in this movie. Curious to see what that's going to be like. And Ice Spice, for whatever reason. I'm curious to see what Spike Lee is cooking up. I just really like his movies. I think they're incredibly entertaining and just so stylized and shot and paced and edited in a way that really no one else makes films. And so this is going to be a really refreshing kind of movie. I also really like him when he's doing crime stuff, and I really like Denzel when he's doing crime stuff as well. So add all that up, and also the fact that the trailer looks pretty great, and I'm really excited for this movie. I'd give it probably an 8 out of 10. Next up, we have another crime film from an acclaimed auteur, and that is Honey Don't, the latest from Ethan Coen, who is obviously better known as one half of the Coen brothers, but is currently making like lesbian crime movies with his wife, and Margaret Qualley is starring in this film like she did in Drive Away Dolls, their movie from last year, which I know a lot of people didn't like, but I thought was pretty solid. It was certainly forgettable, but it was like a fun time in the movies, and it didn't outstay its welcome. It was like a tight 90 minutes, and it's cool to see Margaret Qualley just like having an absolute blast doing this weird Texas accent, which it seems like she's doing it again a little bit here. The other 2 major names in this cast is Aubrey Plaza and Chris Evans. I'm not sure what Chris Evans is doing in this movie. It seems like he's playing this corrupt mega pastor. Judging from the trailers, I don't know if I'm really gonna love his performance all that much. And while I did somewhat enjoy Drive Away Dolls, I'm not necessarily sure if it's a kind of movie or a kind of genre that I necessarily want to see Ethan Coen dive right back into. It's so odd because the second the Coen brothers broke up, they both lost a little bit of sauce, a little bit of pizzazz in their films. And as a result, they've both made pretty good movies once they've split up, but none of them have been like really great or have reached anywhere near the peak of even the lowest lowlights of their filmography together. I'm optimistic that maybe he might capture that magic that he had just a decade ago, but at the same time, I'm more cautiously optimistic. The trailer looks okay. I don't know. I would probably give this like a 6.5 out of 10. And the third and final release coming out on August 22nd is Splitsville, which is a film that premiered at Cannes and is directed by 2 dudes whose names I don't know, but I'll put them up on the screen, I guess. Stars them as well. They made The Climb, which is a movie where people bike. I've never seen it. And this one stars Dakota Johnson and Adria Arjona as well. And both of these actresses I think are pretty great and are coming off of great performances. Adria was really great in Hitman, and Dakota Johnson was pretty good in Tyrolus as well. This also got pretty solid buzz out of Cannes, so I'm pretty excited about this, but I'm not entirely sure what tone it's going to go for. The trailer was giving off like cynical romance, but this could go in a variety of different ways. So again, I don't know anything about these filmmakers really, so I don't know how excited I can be about this film. But judging from the trailer, judging from what I know, and judging from the fact that people seem to like it out of Cannes, I would give this a 7 out of 10. And the final film is another crime movie from another pretty acclaimed auteur, and that is Darren Aronofsky's Caught Stealing. Aronofsky's films have been a blind spot for me for quite a while. I haven't seen any of them, but judging from what I know about them, they're pretty metaphorical, pretty allegorical, and a little bit stuck up their own ass. And Caught Stealing looks like the antithesis of those things. It just looks like a fun, straightforward crime movie with honestly the perfect star that you could ask for a fun, straightforward crime movie, that being Austin Butler. And even just based off the trailer, it seems like him and Zoe Kravitz are going to have really great chemistry here. Matt Smith and Bad Bunny look like they're going to be going kind of wild in supporting roles and really like chewing a lot of scenery and going for it in an exciting way. But the trailer also looks, I don't know, a little bit bland. It's difficult to know if it's just a poorly cut trailer or if this movie is just genuinely not going to be very good. But it seems a little like too influenced by Tarantino and Scorsese in a way that makes it come off like a pretty generic crime film. I'm rooting for this movie because I like Austin Butler quite a bit as a movie star, and I think the choices that he's making with his career are very interesting. Starring in very original films with very talented filmmakers. But I just can't seem to get super excited about this film because the trailer just keeps holding me back. I'm definitely going to watch it, but I feel like it's going to be in one ear, out the other. I would give this like a 5 out of 10 on the excitement scale. And those are really all the releases. August, some exciting stuff, kind of in the middle of like the big summer blockbusters. And then later on in the month, we're going to have some of the more acclaimed sort of like Oscar contenders. I'm not sure if any of these are going to be Oscar contenders. I think Highest to Lowest is probably the one with the biggest chance just because, Denzel will always be a contender for a nomination. I'm quite excited for Weapons, quite excited for Highest to Lowest. I think this is going to be a pretty good month of movies. I will be reviewing almost all of these films except for probably Freakier Friday at some point in the month. So, I don't know, subscribe or stuff if you want to hear my thoughts on those whenever they come out. And yeah, that's all I got to say. So watch these movies in August if you want to. Let me know which ones you're excited for. And bye-bye.